How's it going, everybody? This is Ronin 47R, and today we're going to be taking a look at the T23. It's a very special tank. In fact, it's a rare tank. It's a tank that was only offered twice so far in the World of Tanks Xbox Edition history. The first time was when it was released, when the game released in February of 2014, and that was called the Founders Pack. It was re-released for the 1-year anniversary in the Founders Pack Redo. In fact, this is what it looked like when it was on the World of Tanks Xbox Edition website. The Founders Pack, you can see here, was offered February 2nd through February 15th. And the T23 could be purchased for 6,700 gold. And you can see it came with a garage slot, 10 first aid kits, 10 small repair kits, 10 fire extinguishers, and 30 days of premium. As usual, it also came with a 100% trained crew. Also take note that it does say that there is a 34% savings by purchasing that package, and you do get a savings on all the things listed, but you also get a savings on the tank itself. Take a look at this. If you look up the T23 utilizing the Tankopedia on the website, you'll see that the price of the T23 is valued at 7,000 gold. So just off the bat, you're already saving some gold by purchasing that package. Now, taking a look at the T23 in the garage, the first thing I gotta say is I think it looks great. But I'm going to take a look at the overview. Pressing the Y button, you can see the overview stats and the armor for the T23. The hull armor in the front is 76 millimeters, the sides are 51 millimeters, and the rear is 38 millimeters. The turret itself is listed as 76 millimeters for the front, 64 millimeters in the sides and the back. What's interesting, and not that big of a deal, but what is interesting is if you look at the Tankopedia information on the website, it lists the hull armor and the side turret armor as 1 millimeter less. As for the rest of the statistics, we'll take a look at that in a moment, but first I want to get back to the garage and admire the beauty of the T23. If you can't tell already, I have fallen in love with this tank. Never thought myself a medium tanker, but this tank is a lot of fun to drive around and blast the enemy with, but we'll get to that later. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put on some camouflage on this tank, and while I do, it's really a lot of fun for me, at least, to think about the historical significance, or where was its place in history. And it turns out the T23 was a real tank. It was a prototype tank. It was related to the T20. In fact, the whole series was what led up to the development of the Pershing, which we will later see in Tier 8 for the American medium tanks. And now, as usual, you can see me putting on my emblem, the red and white stripes there. I have to do it, can't help myself. But, you know, looking at this tank, one of the things that I think of, this is kind of silly, but, you know, that side basket to the side of the turret, it's not symmetrical, and I think it really gives a lot of character to the tank. Just the shape of it, the gun port in the front, I think it just really looks awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at the details of the tank itself. You can see here there's a Tier 8 turret, a Tier 6 gun, a Tier 7 engine, and a Tier 7 tread. Looking closely at those details, you can see that the horsepower for the engine is 500, and that's what allows it to go so fast at 56 kilometers per hour. The gun itself, you're looking at 18.42 rounds per minute. The penetration is 128, the damage is 115. So although there's not a lot of alpha, you know, you have a very fast rate of fire, and it's a pretty good pin, especially for a premium in my opinion. The aiming time is 2.28, and the accuracy is 0.40, and the traverse for the treads, for the hull, is 40 degrees per second. The turret itself can traverse at 42 degrees per second. The view range is 380 meters. Now, what I've done in the garage is I have put this side by side with its closest relative, which is the non-premium Tier 7 T20. Aesthetically, you can see that they look very, very similar. The sloping, a little bit of difference, you know, a little bit of cosmetic changes, but, you know, for all in all, it is brothers. I wouldn't even say cousins. I mean, they're very closely similar. Now, looking at the different packages, so we can compare apples to apples, you can see there are 3 packages to choose from for the T20. What makes sense for us, though, is not to look at the 90 millimeter, not to look at the 105 millimeter, but to stick with the pre-pilot 76 is what they call that package, and that has a Tier 6 gun. It has a 76mm gun, M1A2. And what do we notice when we take a look at this gun? It looks like a little bit of a slower rate of fire at 18.18 rounds per minute. Penetration is 128, and the damage is 115. The aim time is 2.29, and the accuracy is 0.40. The treads, the hull, it traverses at 37 degrees per second, and the turret traverses at 44 degrees per second. View range is 370 meters. Okay, so I know I threw a lot of information at you, but here's where the rubber meets the road. How do they actually compare? So reflecting back on the two tanks, if you compare the two, the beauty of it is the T23 is practically the same in so many ways to a non-premium T20. Here are the differences, or the similarities. Sure, they both go 56 kilometers per hour. Sure, they have the same 76mm gun, M1A2. The T23 fires 0.24 rounds per minute faster. Not a lot, but it's there. 0.01 faster on the aim time. The traverse for the hull, it is 3 degrees faster. The traverse for the turret is only 2 degrees slower than the T20. And when it comes to the turret armor, it only has 12 millimeters less armor on the front. Everything else is exactly the same as the non-premium. Lastly, the hull, it actually has 13 millimeters more armor in the front. Everything else is the same as the non-premium. So is this a good tank for a premium, which is usually a little nerfed compared to the non-premium brother? Absolutely. I am very, very impressed with the statistics, the characteristics of this tank. So as I was wrapping up the analysis of the T23 compared to the T20, in the background you can see that I segued into the equipment portion of the review, and we're looking at the equipment for the T23. I was showing you the different things that you can potentially purchase for the T23. In the end, of course, I did purchase, as you saw previously, I did have the binoculars, I did have the vertical stabilizer, and the vents. Let me go backwards. Starting with the vents, anytime that and this is just, me thing, anytime I can increase my crew skill by 5%, I'm going to go ahead and do that, because that one piece of equipment affects all characteristics, all skills of that particular crew. Because of the way this vehicle, this tank, is going to be utilized, I personally feel that vertical stabilizer is the way to go versus the GLD. I'm going to be doing some, hit and moves, some running and gunning, and I want to have that smaller aim circle, so vertical stabilizer. The last piece is, because of the way I'm going to play this tank, I'm not going to say it's the way you should play the tank, this is the way I play the tank, your mileage, may vary, but the binoculars, enhances that 380 meters by 25, and that's what this tank's all about. I feel is a cross between the scouting, keeping an eye out, sniping, your flanking, and your harassing. So that's where the real benefit and where this tank really shines. And lastly, for the consumables, you can see that this carries 84 shells, and I'm running with 72 AP, 10 premium, 2 HE, and my standard extinguisher, first aid, and repair kit for the supplies. Okay, so coming up next is the part where we do some gameplay, and I like to do the do's and the don'ts, and I'm going to start off with some don'ts. As you can see here, there's 11 bad guys left. I'm the only one on my team, and I'm limping along, but I'm going to make it hard on these guys. I'm going to be a smart aleck, and I'm going to hide, and then I'm going to snipe them and pop up where I can, and make my death as hard as possible for them. All I need to do is move over to that next ledge, but oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Alright kids, don't try that at home, and that's a perfect example of how to be anti-awesome. Alright, the next battle here is a little less embarrassing for me, but definitely a lesson to be learned. It is Corellia Assault, and the lesson learned here pretty much is just don't go so far ahead of your team that you don't have an exit strategy. Don't get swamped by these 3 tanks here, and I was so far ahead that I couldn't get support from my team until the very end, and it was too late for me. Getting hit with all these tanks, though, you can see that 1,440 hit point pool really comes in handy. It could take a few hits. It can absorb a lot. Alright, well in this next video here, I wanted to highlight how accurate this tank can be. I am barely seeing that tank destroyer over the rocks, and you can see the precision on that commander's hatch there. Now there's a T23 off in the distance, and one of the lessons learned here is, well, basically don't get fixated, don't get tunnel vision on one target. At this point, not a big deal. My team has taken the hill and the access point to the hill. The scores seem pretty even. I have nothing to worry about, but I'm sitting here and I'm not getting enough effective shots, and I should have just gone onto another target. But I got a little too fixated on this T23. Well, that's done, and I'm going to turn around and move on to another target. But because I haven't been paying attention to what's been going on around me, that lack of situational awareness, well, it cost me. So the lesson here is you got to pay attention to your mini-map and everything else, not just the target that you're focused on. Now, this particular game here, you can see there's only 3 of us left, but I'm going to go down fighting. I saw this T23 with a sliver of health, and I'm drooling that I want to take this guy out. So I'm hustling over there, and you can see the speed on this thing is awesome. The maneuverability, it's really nice. So I'm going really fast. I'm going to get there and make sure I don't do a bounce. So I'm going to take a little precision shot here, longer than I should have, get hit by the Stug. But that's okay. I'm going to repair kit out of there. There's a Stug. I can go one-on-one with this guy. I feel pretty confident. What I failed to recognize, though, was what I saw on the minimap earlier, or what I didn't see, and that is that there was a lot of targets in the middle of the town, and here I walk right into them. My speed doesn't allow me to turn quick enough, and pretty much I'm toast. And there it is. Alright folks, the next thing I'm going to be showing you is some pictures I've taken off of the television set with my cell phone camera. Now, the first thing that should jump out at you is the fact that all the pictures are extremely green. I apologize for that. My television set has a color chip that has died, and it costs the same to buy a new television set as it would be to repair it. So at this point in time, I have to wait on getting a new television set. Alright, now with that disclaimer said, the reason why I took pictures is because I didn't have a game capture device, and it was pretty surprising to me when I first started playing the T23 that it was capable of such awesome gameplay, which I wish I could show you, but I could at least show you the results that are going on in the background. In this particular game, I got some pretty good silver and experience, but I could not believe how many tanks I was able to destroy using the T23 with such low alpha damage and high rate of fire. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with luck, timing, and being in the right place at the right time. But it's very possible to get even a Top Gun award using the T23, and I think one of the tricks is getting those 27 direct hits, and 20 of them were penetrating, and you just whittle down the enemy, and that really helps with your silver gain and your experience gain. And like I said, if you're in the right place at the right time, you can get some of those shots be the finishing shots, and that's what resulted in those 6 tank kills. Alright, in this next video here, it is a Sand River encounter battle. And the reason why I selected this video is because it really shows off how well the T23 can act as a sniper, as a harassing tank, in a supporting role. Alright, as you can see here, we've got this KV-1S out in the distance. And if you look to see where those shells are actually landing on the tank, you can see the inaccuracy, but the point is it's accurate enough to be off at that distance and still do some damage and support the tanks that are up closer. With this new patch, you can also see the update, if you will. You're looking at 450 meters away. The shells are not penetrating as much as they used to. There's a lot more bouncing going on off of those togs, and that's a lot of it is due to the distance, not the armor itself of the tog. Obviously, some of the things that does help with the bounce off of the togs is the angle. You'll notice the angle changing. Those togs, sometimes they're perpendicular to me. Sometimes they are maybe 45 degrees to my location. Perfect example of how angling your armor does help. It's very important. So I'm going to continue to try to get damage off the enemy here. That last shot missed. Got a bounce, and then a teammate gets that last kill shot off that tog. We're losing greens very fast, and I was going to run up there and support my my team, but I noticed there was only a light tank left, and he has very little health, and I predicted that he was going to die pretty soon. So what I could do is at least put fire downrange right now in an attempt to support him for as long as he could. In doing this sniping supportive role here, there's only 2 mediums left, and eventually he and I both get swamped and die. Now in this next battle, this Steps standard battle, this tank starts to really shine. Like I've said before, it depends on the map, who you're with, matchmaking. There's a lot of variables in the world of tanks, in my opinion. It's not solely on your skill. I mean, I take responsibility for what I contribute, of course, but there's a lot of variables that are out of your control. Kind of a flip of the coin with the way things go. So in this particular battle here, I'm going to go ahead and utilize my extremely long view range of 380 meters plus my binoculars there. They light up. At the same time, I'm watching the greens and seeing how they're going to play out. They're doing a pretty good job of spreading out and then moving forward, and we're just going to see how it lays out. There's no need to rush in, So I'm gathering intel and seeing where I can take some shots of opportunity. Off in the distance, you see that IS-6, very famous for bouncing, and with my pen, I'm not really holding my breath too much to get some damage off that IS-6. But at least, even if I'm bouncing shots, it's my experience that letting the enemy know that you know that they're there and that you're sending rounds downrange, they don't like it. It causes them to pause a little bit. Now there's some activity here in the northeast, and I'm going to support my guys, so I'm heading over there, communicating such. And now I'm going to take some shots of opportunity. Got some danger to the left and to the right. Took a hit there, but here's where the tank really starts to shine. You've got this flat, open terrain. Granted, it's a little sloped, and you have to be careful about that, because that will slow you down quickly. But notice how the traverse of the turret, the traverse of the hull, the rate of fire, and when it does make contact, it's not a high alpha, but I'll tell you what, him getting, the enemy taking hundreds of points of damage per shot is not a fun thing for them. So I've only taken one shot from that enemy, and I'm going to go ahead and use the slope here for cover. I'm using the terrain to gain speed and to try to use the terrain against them, because they too will be losing speed as they drive up and down slopes. And so we've got that kill. Alright, so now that that enemy has been taken care of, now it's time to move on and see what we can see. Got this AMX light tank here that I'm using auto aim on, trying to make some shots on the move. And again, that vertical stabilizer is paying off. You can see I made contact at least once on that very fast moving scout. Now there is an enemy all by himself, or it appears to be all by himself, over here in the distance, and it is a Japanese medium tank, tier 7. So we're the same tier. He only has his commander hatch above the railroad tracks. Got a few good sniping shots off of that. Now the light tank here, the AMX, pops in, and this tier 6 wants to tackle me here, so we exchange a few. Again, no rush. As much as I'd like to run in there and finish this guy off, I'm trying to take my time because I know that I have enemies to the left and to the right of me. I'm keeping that medium Japanese tank on the other side of that hill. Took that shot on that tank destroyer as an opportunistic shot. And now it's time to isolate this guy, or he's been isolated. Now it's time to take advantage of the work I did here. But on the way there, I took a chance. That medium tank by the railroad track should be shooting at me, but he's not. And I'm thankful for that. Alright, so now it's time to close in on this Tier 7 Japanese medium tank that's been hiding over here by the railroad tracks. Now I've dropped his health some because I've been sniping his hatch here. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get really close in and do what I did to the Tiger earlier and try to dance around this guy utilizing my hull traverse and my turret traverse and the speed of the tank itself. You can see here whether it's gun depression, whether it is the terrain, and of course the traverse of the hull and the turret. The Tier 7 enemy Japanese tank is having a really hard time keeping up with the T23. So one-on-one, it's a very good tank to circle the enemy with and to harass the enemy to death. It's a great pool of health at 1440. It's a ton. You can take a few shots. The armor is great, for what it is, a medium tank at Tier 7. I mean, I love this tank. It's a great tank. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and you can really contribute to your team. Now, it looks like the enemy team is going to win. They still have, 4 guys. Looks like they're capping. Everyone should be going over and try to disrupt the cap, but for some reason, this heavy tank on my team chooses to try to cap the flag all by himself, which I really didn't understand. But it is what it is, and this ends in a defeat, although I felt that it was a great game. Alright, so what made it such a great game? Well, I mean, obviously, there was 101,000 silver, there was almost 2,500 experience, and of course there were some operational rewards which helped with that. But if you were to ferret those out and look at the earnings of this game, basically it's all about the damage put down range. You're looking at 27 hits on the target. Now in this next map, this next battle, it's mines. It's a standard battle. And we're going to really see how this tank shines again if used correctly. You got to know your tool, got to use it the right way, and let it do its job. Now, in my opinion, one of the benefits of this tank, it's 56 kilometers per hour speed. I'm going to scoot up there as quickly as possible and get some information, some intel on the enemy, and not to mention attempt to take the high ground. Look how well this tank takes this hill at 30 kilometers per hour, drops down to some mid-20s, but it's still trucking pretty fast for going up that slope and having taken that turn. That's excellent. Alright, now that I've taken the hill, my job here in this type of tank is to harass the enemy, take some shots of opportunity, and definitely give some, some locations to my teammates, especially the artillery. The pen on the penetration on this gun wasn't good enough for the commander's hatch of that T23, but I'm going to go ahead and try to select some other targets to take advantage of. There's a T150, and got a nice 115 point roll on him. And there was a bounce, although it looked like a critical on the tracks. Now he's dropped from sight. So I'm edging forward. Someone can see me. And there's a Tier 7 IS, an excellent gun. That particular tank does not look fully upgraded because I bounced off of the turret. Another example of how good the armor on this tank is. Don't rely on it, but it comes in handy. Now I'm continually jockeying back and forth from one end to the other. I don't want the enemy to predict where I am. I want to pop up where they think I'm going to be the least. There's a Churchill located way over there, and I noticed that the Sixth Sense was going off, and then I tried to use my binocs to get a better view. finally came into view, but I didn't have a shot. There's that same IS that was shooting at me earlier. Gets off that hill. There's a T23. A lot of heavy tanks for some reason on the red team that were trying to do some snipage from over there. And again, low alphas, but they do add up. And nothing like hitting a T23 in the hull right behind the turret. Seem to be very soft in the midsection. So you can see we've really stopped them from moving forward in the northeast. And looks like it's a little thick with enemy in the southwest. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that on the minimap. But meanwhile, I'm going to keep plugging away at these guys here near their cap. However, I just noticed there is a tank destroyer moving up, and the last thing I want to do is deal with somebody who's either A, hitting my people from behind, or B, coming up behind me. I bounced that shot, aiming near the gas tanks, got some damage there, and was able to take him out. So again, this tank is excellent for being Johnny on the spot. You have to completely, I guess with any tank, be aware of your surroundings and where you're needed, and get there. And this tank will allow you to get there in a quick manner. It's a great tank. I love it. A lot of fun. Alright, I finally got through that traffic jam with that heavy tank on my team. I didn't know what our malfunction was there, but finally got through. Too late to assist with that tank destroyer that was coming through, so it got killed by somebody else. Nothing to see. So again, got to be Johnny on the spot and reposition my eyeballs to see if I can assist somewhere else. So I'm going to head back over to my spot and look towards their cap. There is a heavy tank, but let's see what else is going on over here. Alright, nothing's popping out, just this one IS, so I'm going to scoot forward to get the gun depression. However, I overshoot and have accidentally committed myself to going on the same level as the IS. I do have a lot of health, but he can damage me absolutely. Well, last thing you want to do is hesitate. If you're going to make a decision, it's better to have a bad decision than no decision. So what I'm doing here is I've committed myself 100%. And now I'm going to play the old dance thing, and you can see with the auto aim, with the speed and the traverse. Now watch this downhill. I was aware of the downhill. It gave me extra speed boost. Look at this. Use that downhill. He cannot keep up with the turn. It's excellent. So little T23 was able to take out Mr. IS. That felt good. It's good stuff. It's a great tank. I know I keep repeating myself, but one-on-one, this tank is not bad at all. I mean, it really has a chance. You just don't want to drop yourself in a group of bad guys. You know, just use common sense. And nothing like opportunistic shots. And there you go. End of the game. So that was a really good game. Good job, green team. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right, so now let's take a look at the rewards here for our hard work. Now you can see this is going on during some operations with some really steep rewards here. This is a ×3 on the silver vein. But if you're aware that it's a ×3 and you take that 269, 270, 270,000 worth of silver, 269, divide that by 3, it is still something very good. This tank can really pay off. If you contribute to your team and do your part, it'll absolutely pay for itself and more. You're looking at what, 13 hits on the enemy, 3 tanks destroyed. Second place there. My raw experience was what, 1531, and under normal circumstances you would have been 100,000 easy. I mean, that's great. Tier 7, low alpha, absolutely. I'll take that any day. Good stuff. All right, now in this next battle here, it's on El Haluf, and it's an encounter battle. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is remembering that my role is to use my speed to get into position, to gather intelligence, take some shots of opportunity. I'm going to hustle myself over to the J8 area-ish. And for your viewing pleasure, what I've done is I've sped it up so that you don't see the non-event of just driving along. Although the scenery is beautiful, but your time is important to me. So I'm going to drive over here and get in position. All right, now here's your assignment. I want you to take a look at my binoculars. Watch when they activate. And that is where it really matters. That's where you get the real value from having those binoculars, extending your view. Just a reminder for those people not familiar with the binoculars, they do come on when you are stationary for several seconds, and as long as you don't move your hull, they will remain activated. You can use your turret and move your gun around and they will not be disturbed. And you have that great view range. Really comes in handy. So I'm waiting for this guy to reappear. You're looking at a distance of 340 meters there, climbing up to almost 350. Notice how my sixth sense does not go off, which proves or demonstrates how I can see him, but he cannot see me. And that is one of the biggest things when it comes to tanks. See the enemy first before they see you. That's what allows you to get that shot off and potentially win. Now this game will end and we win, but there's nothing really to talk about. And I really didn't contribute more than that. So let's take a look at the rewards for sitting and spotting and I think getting one penetration hit. So you're looking at 742 on experience, which is not a lot at all. Over 100,000 in silver. But, you know, by contributing in that fashion, you do get rewarded. Now in this last game, Live Oaks, you can see it is a standard battle. And there's a lot of steep terrain here, but there's also a lot of flat terrain. So it's kind of interesting to see how this game is going to play out, knowing how I've been playing this game, playing this tank, knowing what this tank likes to do, and what it needs to do in order to be successful. Again, not the strongest tank, it's not a heavy tank, it's not an assault tank. But my job to the team is to get in position, to put eyes on the enemy, and let them know what's going on as soon as possible. Now normally when I'm playing this map, and if I'm going to take the east side of the map, I generally go to the southern 5 column, you know, down there and peek over the land and wait for the enemy to come because it, you know, again, it depends on what my team's doing. However, in this case, I was successful, luckily, to get some greens to join me in moving forward. So I got really aggressive and moved way forward. Able to spot this tank here, this KV, get some shots on, and now he's retreating. He may or may not, at the moment of retreating, know what he's dealing with. But this is what I mean by if you are aggressive enough, not 100%, nothing in life is, but if you're aggressive enough, you can turn the tide and make people hesitate. And if they hesitate long enough, they may even change their mind. And now, look where the greens are on the map. I don't know about you, but most of the time that I play this map, the reds are over in the 8H, HJ area. We have to battle it out near the bridges, and it's a push and shove type of battle. But because we were able to be aggressive, had the teamwork of the greens, they followed me over here, was able to get that KV to back up. The rest of his team, the red team, sees the KV backing up, and now they're stuck. The red team is stuck over at the F0, F9 area. That's it. For me, that's a rarity. Now, my responsibility as any good tanker is to capitalize on the enemy's weaknesses and or mistakes. And in this case, what I need to do is continue to snipe, harass, and manipulate the tank in such a way that every time I'm detected, you know, get out of there, because I don't want those 2 artilleries dropping on me. But again, keep the enemy guessing. You know, where is, you know, my tank going to pop out? So we got that M6 to retreat. Got a VK over there, but he's way too far and he's past the train, so he's not really a part of the program right now. I'm going to go ahead and go to the far east and really try to get these guys to make a decision, to force them. If they're going to look at me, they have to look to their far left if they're going to look at my other green tank, they're going to have to look to their right. You never want to bunch up for multiple reasons, one of which is don't make it easy for them to shoot one or more tanks by hardly having to move their turret. Alright, so now we're back on this M6. This turret is not standing up to the pen of the T23. Got a VK that's come closer, so I appreciate that. And getting a nice hull shot when he went to the top of the tracks there. He's backing up, so he can't even support his M6. The M6, he's done. He wasn't even moving. He was toast. Artillery in the background, beautiful. 480 meters. Another blind shot, and then a green team guy kills him. VK's back for another taste, and he's backing up. Yeah, you can't put a value on it, but I really believe that when you see shells coming, whether they're bouncing or flying near you, it doesn't even have to contact you. The enemy doesn't like it. It affects their decision-making process, and that's what I want to do. That VK keeps going up for a hit and then backs up. We got a Churchill join the battle. Earlier we saw that TD, that tank destroyer, getting hit. Now this Churchill was nicely tracked, and now he is going to meet his maker. VK's gone down, Churchill's gone down. The Tier 7 German TD has popped back into view. We're looking at 470 meters away, still taking shots. Teammate makes that final kill. So far it's been 17 penetrating shots. We're not even counting the bounces, but I mean the actual damage affected, 17 shots by the T23. And again, I keep reiterating that that is where you are going to make your money and your experience and contribute to the team. Alright, so now we have an artillery that's come into view. And right there I should have waited for the aiming reticle to get smaller. I would have had one shot earlier than I did just now and probably would have had the kill shot. Okay, so now we're looking at this jumbo sitting over there, and he is perfectly perpendicular to my gun, so I'm getting excellent penetration. Just working it. That is a beautiful thing. He finally gets cover amongst some objects which I'm not able to make contact with him, and somebody else kills him. And great job, Greens. That was an excellent job. And one of the things that was so excellent about it was the teamwork factor. It's a rarity in the randoms, at least for me. And we were able to really move forward aggressively and cohesively, and it really paid off. Now, this here is a ×5 for the silver. So if you were to divide out the reward of 620,000 plus by 5, you're still looking at a very, very admirable earner. The T23. It's an excellent, excellent tank. Confederate metal, high caliber, which is funny coming from Mr. Low Alpha. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's about the shots on target. 23 hits on target. Looking at almost 1,800 raw experience, and that's what really made the game. Well, I would really recommend this this tank, the T23. It's a rare. If you haven't purchased it already, you've missed out, at least for now. But maybe, just maybe, it'll come back again to the stores for another anniversary or for some special cause. You never know. All right, folks. Well, if there is any time you see me on the battlefield, make sure you say hi, comment, post things on the discussion, like it, subscribe, but for goodness sakes, stay in touch. I really appreciate you stopping by and taking a look at the videos. You guys stay safe out there, and I hope to see you on the battlefield soon. Take care.